apparently there was a, to my looking at TV and not seeing a public hearing, I didn't bother to go down, but I did go down there today to find out what happened and if anything affected us. And apparently there is some effect to what happened in the budget. Nothing was changed in the budget. Well, the budget was submitted, the tentative budget. It comes up dollar-wise, just about what you said, just that they've got it spread around all over the place. And I don't know exactly where they put what information, but it's basically what, I told them, dollars. The only thing that I don't see, and I think that it's worthwhile mentioning, and also making you aware, is that the $30,000 that we get back for personnel doesn't get included in the police line. I don't know. And this is done by the controller's office. This has nothing to do with the town. This is by New York State law. It has to be done this way. You can't set up an income line on an expense line. You can't make a motion. But there's no mention of that money, which should be a footnote. There's also no mention of the hundreds of thousands of dollars revenue that the police generate.
I'm wondering about that, where the revenue goes.
It goes into a general revenue line in the A fund, okay, because it's generated townwide, how it is split up. But it doesn't show as an offset to the our costs, because the state controller will not allow it to be done. And the problem is, the town obviously can move that money anywhere they want, which is fine. My only problem is I hate when they say you're over budget when we know we're not. So I just want everybody to be aware of it. There's a massive amount of income, not a massive amount, but a fair amount of income that comes in due to the hard work of the police department that doesn't show in the police lines. It shows the general lines where it gets buried. The taxpayer doesn't lose anything by it because that income reduces the total tax burden. It's just that when you're looking at a police line, it's not showing that. It just shows the expense, it doesn't show the income. Just like also, apparently, those here,
Before you sit for that, I guess you all got a copy of the budget that we put forward. So just to recap, if I could, the town board initially had asked for a 0 increase budget and also a 10% decrease. It's my understanding that I was the only department that also supplied a 10% decrease budget. That's what I heard. The initial budget that was turned in was a 4% decrease based on retirements, this is for salary decreases, as well as some decreases we did in the contractual lines. On top of that, the supervisor put the two together. She put some things back that the 10% one would have caused, for operations. She put some of those things back. Her budget then, again, with actual numbers, was about 6% decrease instead of the 4 and 10, so she came up with 6. I then supplied two other budget lines, proposals. One was a 7.5%, one was a 7.2%. The difference in the two had to do with whether we bought an additional car out of a lease or replace it with a new car under a lease. So that's why there were different options for the board to consider. So the final decision was a 7.2% decrease. So that went forward, became a lot to choose from, and now we've come up to our last night's budget meeting. I wasn't at that, but the update on the change since that meeting took place with the 7.2 tentative approval at the meeting.
Ben, can I ask you a couple of questions about this after you're done with about your budget? I'm just curious about these things. Is overtime time and a half or double time?
Time and a half.
And
It could be double time depending if it's a holiday.
Holiday.
So it's all included.
Okay. And your part-time officers, are they regular part-time or are they per diem part-time?
They're regular part-time. They are in the contract.
So do you have per diem? Do you have the
It's
capacity?
not per diem, no. Part-time officers are listed in the contract. They're members of the union. We don't have, there's a couple
Is it a
agencies-
union restriction that doesn't allow you to have a per diem position?
Yes, yes. If they have part-timers that are mentioned, we hours in a
day.
day, or 40 hours in a week.
So that means if he gets held up on a case, and he does 8 hours and gets in and closes out the case, he gets a half hour or whatever he's over. That's the contract.
That's the
If
contract.
you work 10 hours a month, and it's 8 hours plus 2, you get 2 hours.
That's the contract, and this was done, you know, the town board sits here and complains about it, but they're the ones that did this contract, so, you know, they, you know,
I
they're.
was wondering about that, because I have the same budget size organization, I have 35 to 40 people working there, 24 hours crisis, and I'm saying, I would never have overtime. I just on board per diem workers, and now I understand what things are.
The other thing in this budget proposal is that we're going down from 14 officers to 13. And the reason for that is I feel that we can operate, because we've been operating with that number, because of 2 people being out of injury. So because of the amount of times, I agreed to say, we want to try decreasing one officer. The way the schedule is laid out now, not having a full-timer in a D-line position, it gives us, affords us the ability to use a part-timer now on the busy nights.
But it sounds like there's no advantage to using a part-timer, because you're paying them overtime if they exceed 8 hours.
The advantage is
They're cheaper.
they're
Oh,
still
they're
cheaper.
cheaper, hourly cheaper.
Yeah.
Right.
And
Says
health
that.
insurance.
Even
Because
if
of
I'm
the
I know
not.
health benefits as well, yeah.
Thank
So,
you.
so that's where we are with the budget.
Also, I wanted to point out to people that included for the first time this year was approximately, according to the note I have, please don't hold me to this figure, about $95,000 worth of expenses that used to be shared for buildings and grounds along with all the other buildings. All buildings and all the costs of the building, electricity, heat, lights, etc., used to be put into buildings and grounds. Now it was broke out for the first time, that $95,000 hit our budget, which is okay, as long as they've done the same thing for all the other departments and not just us, which I don't know. Okay, because I have the figure for what they did for us, but I don't have what they did for, let's say, the courthouse. And also the point is very interesting, because if you look at this contract, as a tax exempt organization, we've got to pay taxes. The way this contract was done, it says that we have to pay taxes, which run around $10,000. So people should be aware of that.
The last thing I'm going to say is I wish you didn't have to zero out the non-mandatory training. Just what we were talking about, vicarious trauma, domestic violence, things like that. I'm disappointed that you're not going to be able to add those in. That's all.
Well,
too.
just,
Yeah.
you know, remember, it's still a budget, okay? And although they don't like when I say it, if I'm under on something and I'm on time, like the last time I looked at this, we were about 12% under the budget that would cover that. Well, you know, again, I'm not saying, you know, they took it out as a line item out, but that's not saying that if we have the money, we can't ask for a transfer to move it in.
If there's money left over in the mandatory line. it
Exactly,
moves to the
exactly.
mandatory.
I mean, you know,
My fingers crossed.
it's only a budget, it's not engraved in stone. I mean, it may be engraved in stone for the police department, because that's the way the board looks at it. But if you look at all the other departments, their budgets are never engraved in stone. They all manage to seem to have some kind of flexibility. And at the end of the year, there's usually about $500,000 or so worth of transfers from all over the place into those places that went over budget.
Well, thanks.
Now, the other part about this, which is, I want the public to be aware of, is that 8:15 on Wednesday, a motion was made to close the public hearing. The public hearing was closed. After the public hearing, Councilman Barry made a statement that he felt that the town needs to make a deadline. We should fund, that he wants to fund the police department for 6 months only and then end it. Now, this was just a statement by him. This is not an action taken by the board. This was not a vote. This was just a statement made by him that this is what he would like to see. Councilwoman, excuse me, I'm from the old school where men covered both sexes. I can't help it. I'm too old to change.
You'll learn.
Councilwoman Galucci said she prefers 12 months so as not to compromise the safety of the residents. And Councilman Barry suggested that a deadline of June 30th be put in, so, because it would force the village to come up with a way to pay for the police. This would also allow the town to determine its needs for police protection. That's town police protection without the village. That's what he's looking to do. It was indicated that he thought that this would force the village to do something by getting rid of by suspending the police department. It would force the village to do something because the status quo is no longer acceptable. However, it should be pointed out, this is not a vote, this was not a vote taken, this was just a discussion that took place after they closed the public hearing. So how they're gonna do it, what they're gonna do, when they're gonna bring it up. Supposedly, he wants to bring it up either Thursday or the next meeting, whatever, but he wants to bring this subject up. I don't know if it's gonna have any effect or not, because it was just a discussion. But I wanted everybody on the commission to be aware of this is the situation we're in, and what it did, because when the supervisor relayed this information to the chief today, we came to another screeching halt. We don't know what to do. I mean, is this gonna go through? Isn't it gonna go through? What's gonna happen? Do we put the people on? Don't we put the people on? Do we hire temporary people and in 6 months they're out of a job? So the chief was put into a position of having to come to a screeching halt because he has no idea what to do. So this is where we are. But it is not complete. It's nothing that's been decided on. It was just a statement made to the public after the public hearing. And I wanted everybody to be aware of that.
Well, I would just like to say that, number one, this is deja vu, all right? This is 14 years ago, we went through the same thing, where they talked about the police department only being funded through May, at which time the village board's budget was supposed to come out, and at that time, they were hoping that the village board would pick up some more costs. So this is not anything new, we're going around the same circle, and we're in that cycle. It is frustrating for me as the chief of the department, as well as every member of our department, and I'm sure most of you sitting here at the table, because we have been at a standstill since the retirements began this year. We're still down a sergeant right now. We have one in temporary because of the change. We're still down a lieutenant. We're down basically to 18 people from a 23-man department. We're down to 18 people. We had agreed on putting in for a dispatcher that retired and also 2 officers. With all this turmoil going on, talk about not funding the positions and stuff, we lost a good candidate for our dispatch, and now we were just about done with the background. They took a job with County 911. Now we're starting all over again on that to replace the dispatcher. We're paying overtime, plus filling with part-timers when we can, to fill that dispatcher's position that left. 2 officers that were in the process of doing a background just about complete. The one person just took a job at the sheriff's department because there was a guarantee that they had a job. And seeing all what's going on here, he said, you know what, I don't want to get hired there just to be let go. And meanwhile, we're putting hours into these background investigations. So now we have another hole that we have to do more interviews to try to get another candidate. The list is pretty much spent. There's another test coming out in this month, actually next weekend, which takes about 3 months before that list will come out. Again, we're in a hole. I know there's board members that made comment that everybody's doing this around us, which is not true. They even talked about Saugerties. Saugerties has a 4-man minimum during the day, during the afternoon, and 5-man minimum at night. They have 2-man guaranteed for the village and 2 guaranteed for the town for every shift, and nighttime is a little bit more. They talked about Town of Lloyd because their chief left, that they were going backwards and they were going with all part-time. Not true. Their chief retired. They just appointed a new chief from one of the sergeants. Their lieutenant just retired. They already appointed the lieutenant for the position. They got the chief lieutenant. They replaced the sergeant that was promoted, his position, and one detective made the sergeant. They replaced that position. Everybody moves like that to keep a well-functioning department. And I'll tell you, we're doing a great job for what we are dealing with and the roller coaster we have been on. And I can't tell you how frustrating it is for me as the chief, as well as just, it's an embarrassment. It really is. And it was frustrating. I met with the supervisor. We talked about the budget because we have a lieutenant's position budgeted this year. The tentative budget that's been approved. Again, it has a lieutenant's position in it. I was told to prepare the lieutenant's contract with the lieutenant to forward to the board for their review and hopefully approval. That was 2 days ago. Today I get the phone call saying that we may be eliminated or stop funding in 6 months. How do I run a department? How do I keep good people, good women and men? How do I keep them working for our agency when they don't know what tomorrow's going to bring? And again, it's just frustrating to me And we're going around in this circle. We consolidated, you all know this, we consolidated late 70s, early 80s, from a village police department and town police department for funding savings, for financial savings. And that's what we did way back then. Before I even came, that was done. Other agencies are doing the same thing, looking at consolidation. I'm sure there's talk that we can have for consolidation with the county. It's not gonna happen overnight. It's not gonna happen in 6 months. The talk has to start, and whether it becomes a county-wide PD or certain zones, I'm willing to sit down at a table and discuss possibilities. The elimination thing, and let's see what the other person's gonna do when we move this pawn, is not the way that we can run business. It's not the way we can do this. And when we talk about the fact that we consolidated, now really what the town is looking to do is let the village get their own police department. And we'll have maybe our little police department, or maybe not. So we're going backwards because the village and the town can't figure out how to consolidate. They can't get along and make a decision on this. So now they're gonna go back to the only agency that made sense to consolidate to save money and separate them because they can't get along. And unfortunately, we're the punching bags here. And it's very unfortunate.
So, the staffing that is in the current budget is for next year, meaning the lieutenant and all of those things. So, I mean, I have two things. I say, proceed as if, I mean, to me, this hasn't happened. I mean, it's not, it's something that's done. I mean, people can say whatever they want until it's done. It's done. You have a department that runs 24 hours. You should do your job and go about planning as if nothing is happening, and then we'll deal with it, at least in my view, when and if it comes. That's the first thing. The second thing, and I've said it once, and I've said it to a number of people, I am not really a proponent of not having a police department in New Paltz, and I'll tell you, and my reasoning is this. If I have officers with guns and badges picking on our people, I want to have them responsible to people who live here. And I think it's important that people who police our community, know our people, and, you know, while I think it's, you know, I'm always for saving money, and I make no bones about that, and if we can find ways to do that, I think that's great. But I believe that, you know, we have a college, we have, you know, all the complaining that I do about things, I mean, it is important to me that the face of our community as far as law enforcement is concerned is a police department that is responsive and is answerable to people in our community. And if, you know, somebody picks on somebody who's in a uniform from some other place, whether it's the state or the sheriff, and they're not treated properly, I don't want to have to send our citizens running around trying to figure out who to complain to. And, you know, I said this to Ira, I said, I'll kick you, but I won't let anybody else kick you. So that's, you know, that's my 2 cents.
I take that as a compliment, by the way.
Yeah, well, yeah, it is.
Well, we are going about business as usual. We have to. You know, this is a time of year where we do vacation selections, tour bids for different tours that officers work based on seniority. And we're going about all that, understanding and knowing that maybe a month, maybe 2 months, we're gonna be doing the whole process again because we are down, you know, like I said, 4 positions at least. So it's a struggle right now. And I told the members, and the reason this all came out today was right as I was sitting down for my staff meeting with my sergeants to tell them that, all right, we put the lieutenant's position contract forward. Hopefully we're gonna have some movement and understanding that, you know, there'll be some other positions, promotions made, so we can get back to running solid again instead of the what ifs and the uncertainty. And as I'm right in the middle of just sitting down at the beginning part of the meeting, as I'm starting to go over this stuff, I get the phone call, I talk to the supervisor, and she tells me this news, and it's like, well, time out. I don't know where we're gonna be tomorrow now. And it is really unfortunate, but we are going forward, and I told the sergeants today too, you know, because just like it happened last time, 14 years ago, the word gets around quick, and you know what? No, we don't want to cause a big uproar in the town, but I think it's important for our residents to express to the boards, to the commission, to the village, what they want in our community, what they want for a police department. You know what? If our community doesn't want a police department, it's your community, you decide. But we shouldn't allow it to be quietly done where it's a surprise to the community members, where they don't know this is taking place, because there's nobody sitting here tonight. You know, I don't know how many
No
people were at the
press.
meeting last
Two.
week. Two people.
Two people from the
So
town
you
were
have a
at the meeting
board
this.
potentially making a decision that could affect thousands of people in our community, and they don't know about it.
Excuse me, Chief, they didn't make a decision. I want that
No, I
very
understand
clear.
that.
It was a comment made after the public hearing was closed as a suggestion, as a thought, or whatever. If they make a decision, it'll have to either be Thursday or the following Thursday, or whenever they want to do it. That's the time they have to make the decision. So all I'm saying is anybody that has an opinion, I just keep track of what's going on. But it was, no decision was made, it was a thought, a comment, and it was done to, according to what I read before, it was done so that the village, you know, wakes up, and, you know, the downtown district, which takes the bulk of your thing, I mean, that's why Susan's BID is such a good idea. We don't know if the village is gonna fight the BID, because it affects them mostly. So, I mean,
The supervisor says that she feels that the best thing to do is find ways to fund the police department that she
That's the
believes we
yeah.
need.
yeah,
So the
absolutely,
supervisor does say that.
absolutely does, and that's
So,
why she
you know, I
came in
think
with the BID.
Yeah, so I think it's important that, you know, the community just understands where we're at. I understand times are tough. That's why I'm willingly giving up a position, an officer's position, because based on how we have the schedule, I think we can survive that way without losing any service or giving up any safety issues. I think we can accomplish that. If I'm wrong, next year I'm gonna say, you know what, I tried, we need that position back. Or if I can't support that idea, then it'll stay the way it is. But what I was getting to say is, and I told the sergeants, that bottom line, we are a professional organization. We're one of the highest respected ones in the county. When you talk to the DA's office or any service, crime victims, anybody, we are a professional department. And we have people that come up to our officers after they've testified at grand jury, come up and they just say, wow, your department really has everything together. And I'm proud of what we have here. And I told them, I said, we need to continue being professional, no matter what, do our work, serve our community, and we'll get the job done. Despite of everything that's going on and the turmoil and the uncertainty, we need to still be professional and do our job. And that's the message going out to our members. Is it frustrating? Absolutely. But is it gonna change the way we do our work? Absolutely not. It'll probably even make us more professional, because that's the type of people we are. But I think it's important. I know you had mentioned about, you know, your stance in this whole thing. And as a police commission, you know what we do. You have the closest eye on what we do. You look at the reports, you know, so I do look for support from this organization.
Mhm.
And if I'm spending money silly, well, first of all, you're not gonna let me. So, you know,
Well,
so that's
you
what we're
may
here to
spend
do.
it, but you're gonna hear about it.
Would you or Ira make sure that you get an email out to all of us if this is on the agenda at a village or town meeting? I
We
won't
won't know.
necessarily pick that up.
We don't
You
know.
don't know what's on the agendas in advance?
I
do get
find
an
out
agenda
about what goes on
sometimes,
the
not all
town
the time.
agenda the day I walk in for the town meeting. I come to every town meeting except last night when I didn't think there was one. But I don't know what's on the agenda until I actually look at the door.
If you could text us or anything, that would be great.
I don't have a text.
Was that video of that meeting? I mean,
No, that's what I just said. That's
So
why I'm
it's-
doing
so-
it tonight.
Yeah, so we won't ever.
You'll never
it's
see
on.
what happened.
Okay.
This, I got an unofficial, unapproved summary of what happened, which is what I was reading from. I didn't show the whole thing because there's a lot of stuff on there that doesn't affect it, and I got the whole thing just so I would know what I'm talking about based upon that. But there was no, as I said at the beginning, as I said, the Public Access Committee called, when Susan called yesterday asking where the videographer was told that they didn't have a videographer available to cover the meeting. So there was no, there's no tape, there's no nothing. So, and what bothers me about that is, yes, what I have is the motion, which is the way the minutes work. But what we don't hear is the individual discussion by those parties who are in favor of this. And that's something we'll never get. And that's why taping and having public access at these open meetings is so important. Because, yeah, we have what, you know, what the councilman said, we have what the supervisor said, because that's all the minutes reflect. But the back discussions, the back and forth, and this is good, and that's good, and what do we do, what do you think, that we'll never see, because it was never taped.
Now, Joe, a department, the village would need a like-sized department, even if, do you understand what I'm saying?
Yes.
We wouldn't need to change, if we just said the town doesn't want any more, the village would really need virtually the exact same police department size that we offer for the town and the village, and if we were opting out to do so, it would be an increased cost for all. I mean,
Yes, you need, the village, you would, I mean, for our size town and village, we operate a tour, a lot of times just 2 officers working on the day or the afternoon, and even the quiet nights when, you know, it's early in the week, bars are closed, or whatever the case may be. The bar scene, the nightlife, and really with all the traffic, we should have more. Our guys and girls bust their butts running around handling calls, accidents and everything else. I mean, we all know what goes through our town, you know, with traffic-wise and our community, what it attracts. And that, we're all proud of what it brings. But yet, when it comes to the service that we provide, we don't want to go there because of the cost. And I understand there's a cost to everything. But if a village did not, if the town was by itself, they would need about the same coverage during the day and the afternoons. At nighttime, you could probably get away with 2 officers instead of 4 or 5 on the weekends. The village, because you deal with it, maybe you can go to 4 instead of 5 because you're just handling the village. But you need at least that. So it'd be very comparable to what our size agency is to run the village. You know, they need to come up with a decision on how they can work it out so that everybody's happy. The community, I believe, enjoys having a local police department. You know, I understand there's a cost to that, but, you know, the big thing is, you know, how do they charge or bill separately because of the extra manpower that we would need for nighttime? So if we're talking that you need another 4 officers to give us the extra coverage on weekends, you know, who's gonna pay for it? And, you know, because, you know, unfortunately, again, we're the chess pieces here being bounced around as they're trying to figure out how this can be done. And it's just unfortunate because it is a up and down roller coaster for us and the members, and we all have families and we all have, you know, our own lives to take care of. And when you don't know what tomorrow is gonna bring, and you have to keep a professional, well-trained department. And if you have a lot of people leaving or taking off because they don't know if they're gonna have a job tomorrow, it's only gonna hurt us. And that's what happened 14 years ago. We did lose a couple people. And just recently, we had some good people that were just getting ready to be hired for the position and said, you know what? I can't have a maybe. You know, I need to be sure before I give up my other job, and they took a guaranteed job.
and the police departments in this area are a small, tight-knit community. I would imagine every police officer in the Tri-County area was aware of what went on yesterday at the meeting, where most of us learned about it right here tonight.
How would they know?
If it got to the police officers, they all know other officers in other departments, and it would have gone.
Only
like
got to the
Buffalo.
police officers, what, about 4 o'clock today?
Yeah, 5, 4.
Is
So
that
it
'cause-
got to them, it got to whoever called you this afternoon.
Yeah, no, it got to that, yeah, absolutely.
And
It
that's how it
spread
got
like
to the rest of
wildfire.
them. But, you know, I think one of the things that, there is cause for concern, but I also wonder to what degree some of this is like thinking out loud, and then, you know, it's like, we think out loud and say something, and then it's, you know, it's like, maybe we should get rid of the dog, you know, and then that becomes, oh, they're getting rid of the dog, they're getting rid of the dog. And it's like, well, no, what we're really doing is we're trying to look at things that perhaps would save money, and, you know, that's the first thing that comes to mind, because it's not a person, per se, but then, you know, it goes away. So, I mean, it's a concern for me, but I also wonder, you know, to what degree it is, you know, oops, thinking out loud, and, you know,
I hope so. You know, I think, and as we spoke when I first got here, you know, to get a call from the supervisor saying, give you a heads up, this was discussed, and it's gonna be brought up tonight's meeting, and, you know, that's like, you know, here we go again, you know.
They've got a meeting right now
No,
budget?
No, from last
It was
night, I
brought
was
up
called
last
today
night.
that,
And as I said, I came, I
that I
got
wasn't
my
here
note,
tonight.
and I asked for the minutes so that my note could be verified. And I got an unofficial copy of everything what was
Okay,
said.
that's what you have from that meeting.
And as I was talking to the supervisor about it, she decided to call the chief and tell him, because it was gonna come out tonight at tonight's meeting. So she wanted to give him a heads up so that he didn't get a call from the newspaper saying, what's this, you're gonna get rid of the police department, which is not the case. So she wanted to give him a heads
So
up.
there was, sort of to Randall's point, although I don't know if you'd agree, I wondered if there was any capacity to insulate your department from nonsense when it's got no traction whatsoever. But if you're
Right.
saying that there was press there, then.
Well,
it-
she had
it
said
could go
that,
to
I'll
them.
probably see it in the paper
She
also.
said, she had.
Oh my
this-
God.
this is
Well, I
Susan.
think, you know.
I think I already had a
here's-
phone call
here's-
from
here's
one, I
a
didn't call back
Here's
yet.
a suggestion that I'd like to throw out. And if we're gonna, you know, I think would be proactive instead of sitting around with our thumbs up our rear ends, waiting for somebody to come to us and say, hey, let's, you know, reach out to the source, sit down, we have a meeting, what's on your mind? Okay, here's what I gotta do, and when you throw out these things, you know, I got a department to run, and it compromises safety. And even when you think out loud about these things, it causes problems. So I mean, I think what we should do is we should reach out to the member who raised the concern, because apparently it is important. So let's go to that person, sit down with them, and talk about how we perhaps can accomplish whatever it is that, I mean, if it's within our ability to do so, accomplish what it is that they want to, what they're really trying to get at, in a way that we can continue to move forward without causing, you know, crisis in your department, in your planning and protecting the community.
You know, as you said, Randall, there's no reason not to continue to move forward as a proactive. This is nothing that was done officially. This was just whatever. I don't want, you know, there's no point in making a tempest out of a teapot when it's not necessary. The time to see what's really going on, since we don't have the tape, is at the meeting, when you can talk face to face. When you sit down and you have a private meeting, they can say anything you want. I know a lot of these meetings that I have found out about afterwards that have sat down, they talk to this council person, that council person, and guess what? What they discussed is not what happens, because there's no record of it. And I'm not saying it's a bad idea, and I keep stressing this, and I will keep saying it over and over again in defense of Mr. Barry and the rest. It was an idea, a concept thrown out after the public hearing. It's not something that can be pushed through. There's all kinds of ramifications to doing this. You can't, the town board cannot just say, I'm gonna do this, because there's state law involved, there's, open meetings, there's all kinds of laws involved in this. And that's why I'm saying, go ahead, and if the town board wants to do it, then they have to check with their attorneys to see about the legality of it and everything else. And I don't think that was the intent of Mr. Barry. I think he was coming up with an idea. His basic concept, according to what I read to you on his comment, was he wants to do something to make the village pay its fair share. And that, people, does not amount to the A fund, because the A fund is a percentage of the total. But, yeah, they are paying for it, but is it the fair share when you go to the amount of officers and time and police and cost involved in the village, which, you know, if you look at the district reports, you can see it's like Looney Tunes. You know, there's no reason that you can't do something like the bid. And the bid could be pushed through like relatively quickly, and you got it, it's done. When we got all the revenue we need to have a proper police force, and those that are using the bulk of it, which is in the village, and we've got the statistics for those who, and as I said to Mr. Barry, you can't go by the number of calls, because a call in the town is not the same as a call in the village. A call in the village could take 15 officers and, you know, whatever, and a call in the town could take one person knocking on the door, can I help you, that you log out of your house? But the idea is, it should be fair, and that's all it is, and the bulk of those, if you look at the chief was kind enough to give me, was it District 6?
village, number
The
6.
village, and if you look at the number of calls and the number of offices and the number of cars and the number of everything else that goes to the establishments that are open all night, I mean, as I've said to everybody here before, one establishment in November had 15 calls that included the use of, according to this report, about 20 offices and the use of about 18 cars. Well, you know, that's one way, that's one call, by the way, to the village, when you look at the way the statistics come from the report, which is why people have been fighting to get that update on the program. Because it'll tell me, we know exactly, the commission knows exactly how much every officer costs us, including their benefits. So we could push this in. But that was one bar. One. That didn't include the others that are in there, which are just as big.
I don't think this is as innocuous a comment as you think it is, just based on what you read. I really support Randall's idea of being proactive.
I'm
And
not
if
saying
there-
we should be proactive.
and-
All
and
I'm
to talk
saying
to him.
is
I mean, I
that,
don't know Kevin Barry, and I didn't even meet him during my interview because he just sat and read a book while everyone else asked me questions during my interview to be on this commission. But I really don't think it's quite that innocuous. When someone says June 30th, I think that's a pretty aggressive stance. And I think that it's important that he understands also the jeopardy that he's putting the department in by making public comments like that.
Well,
Well, we don't know exactly the context it was said.
Yeah, how was that?
Yeah,
And
well,
we don't know,
that's
that's the
it.
whole
I mean,
point.
I always
Without the
before
tape,
and after.
I don't want to start a war
Well, I don't think we should
without the
continue to
tape.
belabor the conversation here if we don't know
Know exactly
what
what-
his intent,
Correct.
what his purpose, and the context of that conversation.
Correct.
And I think we need to cut it off now. And I think you and the chief, or you, me and the chief, reach out to the member, sit down and say, let's talk about this and let's go through the process and let's see what your intent is, what you want to do, and let's see how we can perhaps, I mean, we might be able to accomplish something that he wants done without
Yes.
the draconian concept that is being presented. But, you know, in fairness to the elected officials, everybody's grappling with money. And stuff's coming from every place because there ain't no more money tree and the well is dry. So everybody's coming up with all kinds of crazy ideas in an effort to save money. And you can't fault them for that.
think you
But
should
you
make-
can, you know, I mean, my view is, and here comes one of my sayings, and of course there's no press here, you know, you're either at the table or you're on the menu. So, you know, I think our goal here is to be at the table so that we can stop being on the damn menu and, you know, figure out ways in which we can head off some of these things or work constructively so that it's not stuff that's swirling around in the community and it gets everybody's boxers in a snit and, you know, everybody's upset about, you know, something that might or might not happen. And I don't want us to contribute to the drama when we don't know all the details and the intent and
You know, I think
That's
that-
why I was
Where
very
it went.
specific that we don't know the details, because I don't
So are you
want,
gonna meet?
Yes, you
Huh?
were.
You gonna meet?
if Councilman Barry wants to meet with us, I'm all for it.
That would be great.
And I have to say, it's like Councilperson Barry, I think I share his frustration when it comes to being a town resident outside the village where my tax money is going to all these other things and where, you know, people are talking consolidation that they want everyone to pay for the sidewalks, everyone pay for the lighting. Well, when I see a sidewalk going down my street into the village with lighting the whole way with a police officer doing a foot patrol, then I'll be more than happy to agree. But I can see where these are a lot of monies that are being thrown at. I think maybe who is in charge of doing, is there a real push now for the BID or?
It started,
I mean,
Susan is
that's something
pushing
we
for the
really
BID,
should
but
help
we, you know,
support.
she, according to my last conversation with Susan regarding the BID, which was about a month ago, just casual conversation, she was supposed to call the BID attorney to get the proper forms or resolutions or whatever to put the BID in. You know, basically, what you would really need, the best way to do it is that both the village and the town put the BID. The BID can put, the town can do a BID and force the business owners because the village residents or the town residents. But if the town and village both did a BID, then it would not be just funding for the police department, but it would be funding for sidewalks and for lighting and for everything else, because it's a business improvement district. And this is where the money, and it's not just, by the way, people, it's not just the bars. You have those businesses that rely on the bars, like the pizza joints and the soda shops or whatever, that are also open. Anybody that's open to 3, 4 o'clock in the morning, this is where the problem. I mean, the kids come out of the bars, you know, come out at 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock, they're all over the place, and they walk down to the pizza joints, and that's where you have, and they're on the streets. So that's where, you know, and the advantage to the BID, as I understand it, the poor guy who does a shipping thing from 9 to 5, I don't believe gets into the same category as someone who's open until 4 o'clock in the morning. I'm not sure about the BID. I knew Article 19, which everybody knows I've been pushing for 5 years, which is similar to a BID. Okay? But that is done, you pay X and you pay Y and you pay G, and that can also be done. But any way it gets done, it gets done. And that's what we have to do. And that's what you need people to get behind. I don't think, well, I don't want to
Well,
talk about the
can we
business.
just
Do we
move
make
it
a
along
motion?
and then
Well,
just?
can I
just-
finish what I was saying, then you can move along?
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I just want to finish my comment. And the idea is, as Kevin has said, and I understood it, he's looking for revenue. He's not, from what I gathered here, he's looking for a way to revenue, because June is when the village, I think, comes up with their new budget. So, now we can move
Is this something
along.
that needs a motion?
Huh?
Is this something, you know?
No.
I just think
No,
that
we don't
the
need a
chair
motion. I don't
and the
see it.
chief, you know, don't wait for Kevin to call you. You
Mm-hmm.
call him and say, we've, you know, and I'm getting calls, da-da-da-da-da-da,
Absolutely.
and
Yeah.
just get on the stick and get it done.
Yeah, just
And
let us know.
figure out
Randall, you know,
what it, you
Randall and
know,
I will sit
and-
down and talk to him, because
and while you're at it, you might, I do know well, I'll talk to you about it afterwards. We need data. I need some data.
A 7.2% decrease, I'm sure we all agree, is not anything to sneeze about. I think that's pretty good. I don't know what other agencies or departments in the town came up with. But I think that we did more than our part to assist in keeping the budget down in New Paltz.
Mhm.
And, you know,
That's great.
so just on that note, and the only other thing that I would ask is that because the lieutenant's position is in the budget, I would request that the commission would ask the town to consider moving forward on everything, as we say we should do,
well,
move forward.
we haven't been told not to.
Well, I mean, for them, they're gonna consider the lieutenant's contract.
You can't hire, oh, that's right,
You-
they negotiate his so
they
they're
have
not
to
gonna do
nego-
it till January? Is that what we're
No,
looking
she
at?
said that, the supervisor said make it for December 1st.
It's in the budget now.
Yep,
Right.
because it's in the budget now, and it's in next year's budget,
So
you know.
move ahead with it.
Yeah.
So I
What
wanna
do you
move
guys
ahead,
do?
That's what we said.
Yeah,
just maybe just
I thought you were gonna.
give a
move
little
that.
nudge, little nudge to say, you know, here we are, let's move forward. We've been without a lieutenant now 4 months, and we've been down a sergeant for several months, and let's get moving so we can begin to operate normally.
Are there processes you have to go through now with, other than his contract?
His contract, he can be appointed anytime. The contract would take place, if the contract's not signed prior to his appointment, there'd be a retro thing for the difference from the date he's appointed to the time it's signed. But other than that, he could be appointed tomorrow. You made a recommendation to the board.
To do it.
To do it. I think they're good with your recommendation. I think they just need to say, yes, do it.
Yeah.
And it could be done tomorrow. and
They
then
put the
can-
money in there.
The money's in there,
The
and the money's
money's
in
in
there
there.
for this year.
So
He
what's,
would, he would
what-
continue
so
to be
what's?
paid his salary as it is as a sergeant until the signing of the contract.
Okay, so what is to keep you from provisionally making the person the lieutenant like you did before until we had all this, what do they call it, mishigash?
Let's try.
Did I get it?
You got it.
Oh, got
The
it.
si- It has to be signed by the supervisor to approve the appointment.
But
And
you
chiefs
can
need
make
board
it,
approval.
but you can you not make a temporary appointment out of need? Can
No.
you not,
He's,
can you,
he's already a second in command. However, He's still a sergeant. It doesn't change anything for the abilities of what he can do because of his rank. And also, I can't move his schedule, and I know we talked about working afternoons and overlapping and all that stuff. I can't do any of that. As soon as he's appointed,
That's because the unions.
yes, yeah.
Okay. Did you see my email about that?
Yes.
I just gave him a
yeah,
copy.
yeah. I read it too,
Did
but
you?
he also gave me a copy, yes. Yeah, yeah.
I printed it out and gave it
It's
to
my
him.
old hometown.
No, but,
So-
so ideally, if we can do that, we can make the movement from the sergeant that would be in the detective position. We can make the moves, and then we'll have to set up interviews, because there will be more vacancies coming up based on retirement.
Okay.
Okay. So moving along now,
So you'll reach out?
huh?
Who's gonna reach out for the supervisor, you?
I'll reach out to the
Thank you.
supervisor.
And you got the council.
I got the
And you got the
council.
council.
So I have to get this clear. It's in the budget. The supervisor tomorrow does not need board approval. She could do it tomorrow morning, make a phone call to you and say it.
I don't know where she left off with the board when it
Well,
was brought
let-
up.
Okay.
you-
I was
let's
just
let's
wondering
not, let's not speak for the supervisor, it's
Yeah.
not right.
No, I was just
yeah, I don't
wondering
know.
We'll talk
And
with
they
tomorrow.
have to,
I-
and they have, I think the board has to approve.
They probably have to
The board has to
Yeah,
approve
they
it.
The
have
contract
to
has to be approved, but to a point, it would probably have to be done by maybe at the next board meeting, because it wouldn't take long if they can.
Which is
just-
Thursday.
Yeah. That would be my recommendation, that they do that, and we can appoint and
Okay.
then let them negotiate the contract.
Under new business, I want to move some things around so we get the fast things done first.
Looks gonna be slow.
Huh? Acceptance of minutes, somebody want to make a motion?
I
to-
move we accept the minutes.
I just had one comment on the very last page. The motion made by Commissioner Farina that an officer is to turn in his resignation by 11:30. I think it's effective 11:30, not by 11:30,
I
right?
don't know that I made that
No, he's
recommendation.
got to turn it in by that date. He can turn it in anytime before that, but
And
that's,
doesn't it have, oh, I thought we made a point last time that it had to be effective 11:30.
yeah, right, but he has to turn it into us by 11:30.
Okay.
The resignation has to be turned in by 11:30.
Okay.
Well, we have it, and if he doesn't know, my understanding.
Is that
If-
executive
if-
session?
That's
stuff?
executive
No,
session
I know I
stuff.
didn't.
That's executive
Yeah,
session stuff.
it is, and I know I didn't make that, but.
What?
Oh, he said
No,
he
all I'm
knows he
thinking
didn't make
about
that
is
motion.
procedure. We have a document, and if it is not executed by a date
Yes.
before the 30th, then we get to assume that it is effective on that date. But
Correct.
it could be activated tomorrow.
Yes. correct.
Exactly, that's
Yes.
why,
Okay.
that's why we use the word. by.
Okay.
Okay, any other discussion on the minutes or the special meeting minutes? All those in favor of accepting the minutes?
Aye,
Second, was somebody, who made the motion?
I did.
You made the motion to accept the
I'll
minutes of
second
the
it.
general, and Renee seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
All those in favor of somebody make a motion to accept the minutes of the special meeting.
I
We
wasn't
have two
here.
Yeah, it
sets
was
of
me.
minutes,
I move we accept the minutes of the
special meeting.
special meeting. I should have done it on bond so that I could dispense with both of them at the same time,
Well,
but that's okay.
Second, somebody?
I don't have them in front of me, I'll be quite honest.
Oh, I'm sorry. I wasn't here for that.
Okay.
Okay, you're gonna seconded by Steve. All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Now let's go, I'm gonna wanna skip down to Randall's
I
downtown
got two
business.
things. Yeah, I just got.
Well, the first one.
Two things. First
downtown
thing,
business.
I got an email from a neighbor, and apparently this is something that has happened before, so it's not really new. But the Downtown Business Association does something, let's see. They do several events in November, and they get community together for one night for Holiday Spirit. This year it'll be November the 30th, and they will do, they wanted me to mention this to the chief. This year they will start at Water Street Market and will walk to North Front Street. It starts at 6 p.m. and is usually over by 7 p.m. And they wanted you to be aware of it, and there are a lot of families and kids. And two, if I could request on their behalf, foot patrol, somebody there to watch them. So that's, it's the 30th of November. And it's, what do they call it? New Paltz Unwrapped. I think that's what it's,
Oh, yeah.
November 30th, New Paltz Unwrapped.
Do
That's
they,
what it is.
we're not closing any streets or anything, so are they
No,
looking
no.
to get a, do they need permit from the village at all?
I don't know, and I do know that they're trying to get Jeff Logan or Ariana to walk/leave the group, and it goes rain or shine.
The other issue for that is, obviously, we're gonna have to bring in extra manpower, depending on what I have on the
What
shift.
day
If
is
I-
November 3rd? Do we know? Is that a weekend? Is that
It's
a
November-
Friday.
Is that a Friday?
Yeah, this-
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a Friday.
Hello, Gene.
Oh, you missed all the good talk.
Yeah.
All the good stuff.
Yeah, that's a Friday. Well, they just want, I mean, they want, I mean, they asked if, but they thought you should be aware of it. And they asked if possible, if there could be an officer for foot patrol. I mean, if you can do it, you can. If you can't.
Bring you up to date.
Is this in a village? I'm just.
Yes, it's in the village.
Oh, they're walking, yeah, they're walking from Market,
Yeah.
Waterside Market to,
Yeah, we have, you know, depending on what the manpower is, you know, we usually do foot patrol anyway. So we could try to work the foot patrols around that time for presence.
okay. And then can I do my other one?
Yeah, and I was gonna say, next on the
Okay,
agenda is the
the
street
other
closing.
one was street closings. And the question I asked, I know our officers go around and do a report of, you know, the lights and things that are out. Is it possible that, do we do something like that where we identify streets that are closed
you referring
during their
to-
regular patrol? Well, let me give you an example.
Okay.
You know, I live across the river, and you know, if I go to Rosendale or go to Kingston, I usually go the back way. So I go Canaan down to Doug. They were doing some.
Doug Road was
Yeah,
closed for a long
it was
time, yeah.
closed for a very, very long time. And, you know, it's like, when I go that way, I'm thinking, you know, it's like, well, darn, is it open or is it closed? And it would be nice to know if, you know, during our regular, I mean, you know, if they see a street that's closed, that it's posted somewhere so that we know, and it's kind of like how we do the street lights when they're out. If
Well,
they're
we,
out,
usually we don't have a road that's closed that long period of time, but Doug Road actually was announced, it was put on,
Was it?
it was closed, that was from the hurricane from last year, and they had some
Yeah, they
pretty
redid-
severe work.
they
So it was
elevated the street
announced
or
that that would be
something.
closed, it was announced at meetings here also, and I think they even had approximate dates that was included.
yeah.
When we have street closings, we immediately put out tweet alerts. We
Yeah.
update our phone line. You know, so we do all that.
Right.
For example, John Street was closed due to a tree down after the last storm.
Yeah.
There was a section of it, and we had that going when they were doing the gas line work. They were changing some, I think it was gas line on Manheim Boulevard. Every day alerts went out that the road's gonna be closed between these hours and reopening at certain hours. And, I mean, 6 o'clock in the morning, I'm getting tweets, you know, saying that, this road's gonna be closed today for construction, whatever,
Yeah.
whatever. And then this road is again open. So the tweet alert really is the best way if you know, you can follow us, because we update constantly, and you'll get a notice all the time.
Well, and my only downside to the tweet, because I'm a tech person, but you have others who aren't as, who
Yeah.
don't have mobiles that get tweets, and who aren't connected to Facebook, and who don't.
So what
know
report,
all
I
of
mean,
this
what
stuff.
report would you, I
Well,
mean,
you know,
I wouldn't do it in a
I'm
commission
not,
report
I'm not,
because
yeah, I don't know. I mean, is
the end of the month will be too late.
No, what I'm saying is it something that could be on the website? Can we make a section on the website that is street closings, and they go up and they get updated? I mean, I don't know if this, you know,
Would
is
that be
the dispatch.
highway department more so than the police department?
I
I mean,
don't.
they're the ones that close
I
it.
don't know.
Sometimes they notify, sometimes they don't, depending on what's going on.
But I mean, some of the calls I
thing is
heard
that
that we
we don't-
get, I
yeah.
think they call for.
To keep it updated every time a road's closed, if it's even for a short time, is a little difficult. But when we know there's gonna be a road closed for, like Doug Road, you know, we, although it wasn't on the website, we kept putting out the alerts. We updated the phone, and like I said, it was announced at town board meetings even,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
when they were doing that.
Okay. I just.
Actually,
That's-
what I would suggest is possibly that, you know, the village has that New Paltz thing that they send out to everybody out on Facebook and the Twitters and all, they can, you know, because the highway department, no, not the, somebody should, if they notify them, they could probably do something, just a suggestion. Because I know on, Henry Du Bois have been closing all the cross streets. You drive down, you never know which street you're gonna, you drive down over, so you
Yeah.
can't.
Does the town have on their website, do they have a thing for street closings at all? From like the highway department or anything? Town site?
I check my email about once every 6 weeks, really, and you're asking me?
Is incorrect?
Yeah, don't do
I'm
that.
a hard
Then why
copy
did we accept
person.
it?
I don't know if you heard me.
No, it did.
That's all I had.
Well, we can change it.
Yeah, that's fine.
Let's the old, no,
No,
I'm
I'm-
serious.
Let's do it later.
All right. No, if we, once we accept them, all right, we'll have to work it out.
Yeah.
Okay, that takes care of that. Can we go into the monthly report, please? Or
This month's 3 commendation letters. One was to Officer Koch. He assisted in a case with a stolen pocketbook from one of our local stores. And the person just wanted to thank him and left a note indicating that, you know, rather than trying to get the department together for dinner, that some food was dropped off at the station for the members, but showing appreciation for their assistance for the larceny of the pocketbook. The next one is addressed for myself. This came from the community partnership of a Safer New Paltz. Phoenix is the new director for that. There was a program we held at the high school, Be in the Know, the conversation continues, where we talked about you know, drug abuse, home safety for the holidays, about prescription drugs. And I was a speaker at this event, and she was just sending a letter saying thank you. Also, just so you know, for this event, one of the things that they're doing for a safer holiday is some local businesses also sponsored little safes. And we're in the process of, they're in the process of purchasing some safes to give away as well as for like prizes, so that you can secure medications and things like that, to keep them out of the reach, you know, from being taken during the holidays with family and friends and people coming in and out of homes. The safes are $50 each. A couple local businesses already donated a couple. I'm also gonna donate personally 2 safes myself, not from the police budget, but myself. So anyway, there's a letter of thank you for that. The other one is a letter of thank you, and also I wanted to make known from the AAA. Every year they have an award banquet for a safe community for pedestrian safety and what have you. We did receive the silver award for pedestrian safety in the community, as well as certificate of involvement with this program, with all the programs that we do, which are the step details, aggressive driver, buckle up, and different step details that we do. So because of the amount of safety work that we do, this is a letter of appreciation as well, and thanking us for participating in the program. There is 1 defensive action for the month. 2 reports are filed. It was the case involved a 21-year-old female, 5'7", 130 pounds, medium build. This was for an MHL transport. The person was uncooperative with the being transported for the MHL. One officer assisted handcuffing the individual with a wrist lock, and the other officer administered an arm bar to escort to the stretcher to secure for transport. No injury. The transport had to do with the MHL, not for any injury.
Chief, I have a question.
Yes.
Now, apparently, from what I understand, I could be wrong, we were talking about special commendations for special officers, like the officer that saved a life, like the officer who gave money, the female officer who gave money to some woman whose house burnt down and didn't have enough money to go to the motel and stuff. And I understand that, I was told that the town board isn't interested in spending the money. But it would seem to me that somewhere in your budget, a line item, you should be able to, I mean, how much can this cost, special commendation, special pin, just something that says, hey, this is above and beyond the call of duty. When you save somebody's life in another area that has nothing to do with, you should be acknowledged. I also,
I'm sorry,
Huh?
did you just say that you understand that the town board doesn't wanna spend the money?
yes,
Okay,
What was
In
that
May,
on?
I have no knowledge that the town board denied that request, or that request was made of the town board
That was,
in its entirety,
yes,
the town board.
no, not in its entirety.
Okay.
Not in its entirety. But the idea is, I was gonna suggest that maybe we ought to talk to the supervisor and see if we do, you know, not just the police, but, you know, maybe we do a, you're what, you know, like the government does, the annual awards or something like that. I just can't believe that we have a problem, because we did have a problem with a voucher that was denied. You know, I mean, we're talking about what, $50?
Oh, for retirement shields.
But I'm just saying, that
Yeah.
this was, you know, that was the whole thing, and they didn't want to do that, and they didn't want to do the, you know, the special awards, and I think, yeah, it's nice that we read all the good stuff that our officers are doing. But when somebody does something way above and beyond the, you know, like I said, he was there, he was standing, because of his training that came from us, he managed to save a life. I certainly think he deserves a little pin that says, you know, thank you or whatever. And the same thing with that officer. She didn't have to give money out of her own pocket to help that woman. I don't know if she ever got it back or if she even asked it back, but that's, you know, that,
Well, you know,
commendations are nice, but that's not,
Well, I mean, when I raised that, I mean, I didn't think it needed to be anything more than a service ribbon.
Right, that's what we're talking about. We're not talking-
I'm not like talking about this huge
exactly.
presidential seal on the
Statue.
chest.
That's-
Yeah, I
No,
mean,
that-
Well,
there
we
there
talked
could
about
be
the
a
program,
service, and I mean,
But there's gotta be an award service, and that's really what the cost would come into play.
Don't you have
Um,
an annual dinner or something?
We don't.
well, when somebody gets their stripes to sergeant or something, I mean, do they get some special I mean, to me,
Take
it's.
picture.
I mean, well, let me ask this: if you go through a special tactics training or something, is there? I mean, maybe it's something the commission. I mean, I think that when it's like I said. I mean, when I brought up the idea, it was I think there should be some special recognition that an officer gets to wear, that you earn this. You and it's not easy to get.
Right.
And you have to do something that is above and beyond what is expected of you. And we don't hand these out like we hand out bubble gum. I mean, it's and maybe it is something that you as the commanding officer nominate, and the we do it once a year, like right after you evaluate. I mean, it's part of our evaluation process. You nominate 2 or 3 people, and it doesn't have to be every year, because you may not get something that falls
Exactly.
in that category each year, and it's submitted to the commission, and we decide which one, or if it's 2 and they're 2 both worthy, they both get it. And it's a little service
Exactly.
ribbon that is part of their uniform, just like the sergeant's stripe. I mean, I'm not one to just like give away money, but
Yeah,
I
but-
think
I mean, it's easy to issue a ribbon to someone that does something, whether it's a life-saving, whether it's a delivery of a baby, there's different
but I want it
numbers
to be special.
But to have, and the program that we talked about for accreditation is that you have to have a policy in effect, which includes having an annual banquet dinner. And where we talked about it says, we don't have a budget line for that, and that's a money cost to have a banquet. Not so much the pin doesn't cost a lot, but if we're doing.
That's what we're, but that's what
Right.
we're talking, we're
And
not
that's what
talking
we
about a
talked about,
banquet.
there's no money in the budget for that, and with our budget being cut, and, I don't see that going into the budget right now at this time.
Well,
And we need to work on
perhaps-
policy and work on it.
Perhaps that's something that our bar and tavern owners would provide as a give back to the community for our police officers.
Well, yeah, look, I did a fast calculation as to where you stand on your budget, and based upon my very fast calculation, at the end of October, right now, you're 30% under
Right.
budget. So if you're telling me we can't find in that budget $10 or $15 for a ribbon that,
Well, again, it's not the $10 or $15.
But that, I'm not talking
I buy
about
that
dinner, we're
myself,
not talking
it's
about dinner, I'm
it's a
talking
banquet.
about rewarding, even if it's a matter of asking the liaison or the supervisor to make a whole big thing, come before the board, thing and the camera, and, you pin it on them or whatever, with everybody standing there, and you print out a scroll off of a word processor or whatever. But, just something like that, it's not a lot of money, and that's the point I wanted to make, is I think we can do it, and I think it's within our budget. If we're 30% under our budget right now, I'm sure we can find $15, $20, and if they don't want to approve it, we'll see what happens. I'll pay the $15. I'm serious.
You got that. I think you should do it at one of your, I don't know if you have staff meetings, but when I came to talk to one of your trainings,
Yes.
you had everybody in the room.
Department meeting, yes.
And invite the town supervisor to come, and invite the police
Exactly.
commission to come.
Yeah.
Because something that's presented in front of your peers
Exactly.
is so much more valuable than coming
Absolutely.
to a meeting with
Yeah.
4 or 5 people.
Okay.
And their family.
And their family, yeah.
All right, moving on. Anybody else have anything to say about the monthly report? Any
We
other
didn't get
questions?
through the whole thing yet.
Well, that's what I'm asking, if anybody else has anything to say. I'm done with what I wanted on the monthly report. If you have a question, then,
It was nice to get the detectives' reports.
Yes,
That was
from last
great.
month as well. Also, the community report is in there also from last month, and this
Yes.
month was, the officer was out last
I
month.
got that. There's been no resolution. Obviously I can't tell from the detectives' reports. What does it mean when something is cleared exceptionally?
Exceptional clearance.
Yes.
Closed exceptional.
Yes.
That is when there's no charges on it because of a reason, whether it's unfounded, whether a lot of times you'll even see exceptional clearance will be for the backgrounds because there's no disposition per se. So things like that. So it's an
Okay.
exceptional clearance.
And even though it was ruled a homicide, I believe there's still been no indictment of anyone for the little girl.
That one doesn't have
6
exceptional
months ago.
clearance on.
Is that still open?
Yes, that's still open.
Dilworth Dollar.
Yes, that
Late
we're,
Speller.
That's
still
stunning
doing-
to
yes.
me that it's taken this long.
We'll find out.
Wow.
I'll talk to them. Okay, moving along, unless anybody else has anything else on the monthly report. Now let's talk about getting rid of the Audi.
Where'd that come from? Was that
What?
the Audi?
it was
Seized
seized
assets.
from,
Seized.
yep. That was seized from a local, for passing through drug dealer.
How
The-
long ago?
That was probably 5 years ago.
And we've had it all this time?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, so they use it for undercover things?
No.
It was assigned to an
It
admin, it
was
was
assigned
assigned
It
to
just-
administrative.
no, it was assigned to
Oh.
a
To a
lieutenant's
lieutenant.
clerk.
Oh, okay.
Yep.
That's
Okay,
nice.
And what we did was whenever we had a fair or Cops for Kids Day and things of that nature, what we look at is you can do two things when you seize a vehicle. Make use of it or auction it off. At the time, we were looking to replace a car. So rather than spending more money on a car, we just put that one in service.
Mhm.
When we have an event, we put signs on it saying seized from a drug dealer.
Oh,
It's,
wow.
it's good for community relations, it puts a good message out there. Unfortunately, we've had some negative feedback by a few, not a lot, but a few, indicating that why are we driving around in Audis? So the perception of us, even though it's free,
Mhm.
and it's a drug dealer's car that, we like to get that message out, the perception of us driving an Audi didn't necessarily settle well with some community members. So with that in mind, the idea is that we'll auction that off and we'll take the money and buy
A
another car,
Cavalier.
something through, and just like my car, I got my car through an auction.
Mhm.
Rather than spending 30,000 for a car, we spent just over 10,000, and you get many years of use out of it. And we'll do the same thing, we'll take the money that this car sells for. It's an older car, but the value of what an Audi will bring will be very similar to an '09 or 2010, another car from an auction, Chevy or Ford. The car has not really cost us anything, but if repairs need to be made to it, it's more costly for an Audi than it would be for a Ford or Chevy.
Mhm.
So looking at those pros and cons, we thought that we would consider to auction it off, and that's what we're here to discuss, and then we'd pass it to the town board.
Yeah, because it has to be done by the town board, they have to do the auction. What we were looking at doing is that if we send a letter to the town board requesting permission, or requesting them to auction it, in this case, unlike the other auctions, we're thinking of setting a minimum value of $11,500, which is basically what the book value is, because that's what we should get at least, right? This gives us an opportunity for an administrative car to look at something that will cost us a lot of money, much more fuel efficient. We could even, I don't know about the concept of of a Prius or something like that, but we're using it for administration, not road work, so we can save a lot of money. And, as the chief said, let's say we get 12,000, well, let's say we get 11,500, the minimum, well, okay, whatever that is. and we have to add another 6,000 to it, it comes out of C's assets. So now we have a efficient car that's used for administration, that nobody can complain about because it's a green car. I mean, this is the
Yeah, I get it,
concept.
yep.
All right? And the chief can still put that sign on it because it's been used for drug seizing money, that this
So-
car was supplied by drug dealers.
So what will we have to do? Make a motion to
We have to make a motion
recommend-
to send, I need a motion to send a letter to the town board requesting them to auction off this car with a minimum of 11,500 for the purpose of replacing it with a more fuel-efficient car and any value of the car over and above that. Not a new car, still a used car.
So moved.
Okay, so you're gonna do a sealed bid.
Yeah,
It's a sealed bid
Yeah.
process, with a
with
minimum bid.
with a
though.
minimum bid of
With a minimum
11,500.
bid, that-
So moved.
Second.
Call the question. Mr. Chair?
All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
Okay. All right, I will write a letter to the supervisor and the town council. Maybe they can get it on the next week's agenda to decide to sell it, you know, with what we discussed about it being a more efficient car and being an administrative car. We don't need it for the road, so we can possibly look into getting a hybrid or something along that line.
Just something to add, seeing that we're on camera. It's a 2004 Audi A8.
2004 Audi,
It's an A8.
A is an apple, 8.
Yep. And I think they call it a Quadro something.
Quattro.
Quattro.
Four-wheel drive.
Yes.
All-wheel drive.
All-wheel drive.
Quadro.
With right about 73,000 miles.
Yeah, well, that I have on the
Okay.
note.
And it
Do
can
we
be
need
yours
the,
if
for the
price is
auction,
right.
to auction it off, do I need to give the town board the serial numbers?
Yes, I'll have to forward the VIN
Yeah.
number and
Okay,
stuff.
all right, fine, then
No.
I'll hold
If
up
it's
the letter.
approved, they'll ask me for all the vehicle information.
No.
I'll give you an updated mileage, VIN number and all that information.
Okay.
Okay, that takes care of that.
Steve
Community
wants an
spirit,
event.
anybody here wanna talk about community spirit?
They're the Mr. Bean cars.
No
Actually,
community
the
spirit.
only reason I came,
What, community spirit?
because I have, it's citing public input.
Yeah, well, we do it twice, Gene, we do it at the beginning of the meeting, at the end of the
All
meeting.
right, so, I don't know if I should be offended or not by this thing I'm looking at, keep the cops. And so I would like to know what I missed,
Okay,
because I came in late, and really, why I came is so that if there were concerns about what was said at last night's meeting, that I could address them,
okay,
okay?
Excellent.
So
Okay.
here I am.
I will tell you.
You wanna come
But I
up?
already feel like people have overreacted, but you talk to me first.
Okay, here's the scenario which I brought before the board. Can you tell me anywhere that we're not right or whatever? After the public hearing was closed,
Yes,
okay?
yes, I was here all night.
Yeah, all right, well, I'm telling you I'm telling you what the board was told, and then I'll tell you what the conversation was with the supervisor and the other people that were involved in this afterwards, that happened, and the chief, which is what precipitated this. And I said that, I made a comment as to what Councilman Barry said, that he was looking to shut down the police department after 6 months, and that you said that would not, you would prefer to see 12 months for the safety of the residents, what you said, okay? Then Councilman Barry suggested a deadline of June 30th, which would force the village to come up with a way to pay for the police. And this would allow the town to determine its needs for police, and that the thought of, it was mentioned that the thought of Councilman Barry's reasoning was he was trying to force the village to do something because the status quo is no longer accepted. I made it a point to tell the public, because there was no public thing on Wednesday, because you didn't have the cameras, so the public didn't know it. It came up when I went to see Susan, I wanted to know if anything, I went to find out if you were gonna have a public hearing. I didn't know you had a public hearing, because when you went up online and saw blank, and it was snowing, figured it was canceled. My mistake, whatever. So I wanted to find out if anything happened. I have made it a point to say this is nothing official. This is just one town council person expressing his opinion, that in order to do it, you'd have to go to have the whole town board go along with it. So what happened was, when I spoke to Susan, if anything happened to about our budget, because our budget is not quite the same, dollar-wise it all comes out, but I don't know where the money is. She told me the only thing that was mentioned was what, Kevin wanted to do with the police department. I started making notes. She told me to get a copy of what actually transpired, since we don't have a record of it, which is what I did, which is what I just read to you. At the same time, when I went back to Susan to show what I got, she called the chief. She told the chief what happened, exactly what I just said. The chief was in a meeting with his staff when this came up, and as he said, and I brought up at the meeting, he had to come to a screeching halt. Because if this is even being considered, and we don't know if it is, and I've made it a point that nobody's said that this is being considered, that it was just a statement made, that this is even being considered, he can't go forward with what he needs to do, because what is he supposed to do if you're gonna get rid of the department in 6 months? That's what the whole thing was all about, and that's what, this stuff I can't account for. This is the chief. And he's taking a proactive.
Okay,
because-
so I am offended.
Well, you shouldn't be.
I am.
Think about our agency, our department that has been in a roller coaster
No
ride.
one is more supportive of your police department than me.
So why are you offended if you're supportive of us? This isn't you. This is a issue, please understand. I'm in a meeting with my staff today, the sergeants, talking about, I just had a conversation with the supervisor about the new budget going through and about drafting a contract for a lieutenant. I'm sitting down with the staff saying this when I get a phone call, and she says that it's been brought up that, and it's a deja vu, it's 14 years ago all over
I
again.
remember.
With,
I
with,
worked here.
thank you, with going through this. So I come back out to the staff meeting, I'm like, scratch everything I was saying, because I just got off the phone with the supervisor, I don't know what's going on. Now, grant you, or let me just, because I know you support us, so that's why you shouldn't be offended at this. What I would like to do, you have 5 board members that ultimately will make a decision on the budget of a police department, the staffing of a police department. You can't eliminate a police department unless you have a referendum, but manpower you can adjust depending on what you put in the budget. 5 people. There's nobody sitting here tonight. I don't know how many people were sitting at the meeting last night. Before a decision is made, I think it is very proper to let the community know that one of the topics is that you may be considering eliminating a police department or reducing a police department based on a village and a town not consolidating, where we have a police department that consolidated many years ago. Now we want to force the village maybe to take their part in funding.
A board member wants to force the
Right.
village. Okay, don't lose sight of the fact that, number one, what you're looking at are minutes. The minutes do not give you the full transcript.
Absolutely.
Okay?
I said that.
Okay. Number 2, I do believe, not last night's meeting, but the meeting before that, we were right here at this table when the police budget was approved.
At the village, we were at the village hall.
Okay. It was approved.
Then why am I getting a phone call saying that this is taking place potentially in 6 months?
Probably to alert you that there will be rumors and innuendo around town that a board member wants to have this discussion. That's it.
And that's how we, and essentially, I
That's
believe
exactly how we
that's
presented
how
it.
we've ended it. So,
That's
I
how
mean,
you
I
presented
think
here,
we
but
can,
that's
I
not,
think we
that's
can
not how it's
cut to the
delivered.
chase here
I understand
and
that.
allay some of the fears. I think the ultimate decision that was made here was that we asked the chief and the chair to be proactive and to invite a meeting with the council member who had concerns in an effort to try and get a sense of where their head is at, and to perhaps maybe come up with another solution that may or may not require whatever that person is thinking about,
Okay.
because it may show up in the newspaper, so,
It will be in the newspaper.
yeah.
And that's what I was told also.
Fine, and that's probably why she wanted to give you a heads up, okay? So that, but I really wanna point out that 5 board members already approved the police department's budget going forward for 2013, okay? Although this is a discussion that a board member wants to have, I don't mind having the discussion. You know what, I gotta wait the goal for the referendum on consolidation, the goal is March. That's 4 months away, okay? Based upon how that vote goes, changes absolutely everything in this
Absolutely.
town. Either we're gonna remain 2 entities, and we're gonna look at everything with the big picture vision, or we're gonna start becoming one townwide village, and every activity we do is going to change. One way or another, there's gonna be change. But, in my opinion, and it is only my opinion, there will be no change for 2013.
Gene, you know that I appreciate your support. I do. And this is, you know, I know you say you're offended, but when something comes out, and this isn't picking on the board. I know the supervisor also said to me that this is not coming from me. I believe we need a police department, and I appreciate that coming from the supervisor as well.
See?
I know. And so this isn't about
But
her,
there
it's
was
not
no
about
one
you.
here,
But when we.
there was no camera.
I know, and like I said to everybody, my fault to a degree, Gene, is that since there was no camera and it was snowing, I looked at the PA, you know, public access, and I saw a blank screen. So I said, I guess the snow is there, nobody's coming. Otherwise, believe me, you know I would have been here because I'm at every meeting. But there was nobody at those meetings, and without the camera, and I've said that, and you can check it, without the documentation as to the discussion, we can only go by what we have. Because anybody can say anything, there's no documentation to it. And you're right, it has gotten all over the place.
I don't want to, there's enough scuttlebutt back and forth between the town and the village. And we all know that the bars are in the village. We all
I'm
know-
sorry, I didn't hear you, Gene.
We all know the bars are in the village.
Yeah,
We all know the activity Thursday through Saturday night is
Absolutely.
in the village.
absolutely.
Okay, we know that. We've always known that, all right? Last night, there was all this talk about in the 70s, there were 2 departments and how this happened. I said, you know what? It's in the minutes. Go read the minutes, they're a permanent record, okay? Because this is crazy, just everybody trying to remember how it was when they moved up here, and this is how it used to be, and maybe this supervisor did this, and maybe the town took that, and I said, well, maybe the town took it over, because if you wanna police the town, yeah, you need cars. But to police the village and the location of the police department, all you had to do was walk. So maybe that is why the police department was taken over by the town. I don't know. But I don't walk around or go on camera making assumptions or insinuations when somebody can go to the minutes and find out exactly how and why the village and the town went from 2 departments to 1 department, and when the town started funding the police fully, okay? So, let's stop. Okay, and I just don't, because we know everything a lot of people, yes, they get frustrated, but the people that, some people are frustrated that it's the full town tax burden. But you know what? Everybody's having a hard time paying their taxes. But anyone I've ever spoken to, or although the taxes are high, no one I've ever spoken to minds paying taxes to keep the police. Okay? That's the people I talk to. I don't know who everybody else is talking to. Okay? No one minds pay. And that's why I am so supportive of the police department. We need the police department. I remember what happened on Church Street. Now we had the thing down the road with the big, I mean, there's certain things you just don't look a gift horse in. So,
Gee, but
do you have any questions?
So I
No,
think the
all
sign
I'm
down?
sa- no, but you know
I
what, you know
just-
what though?
You know what, no,
In
didn't
all
wanna
fairness-
create any more animosity. There are town board members and village board members that really go at it in terms of who should be paying for the police department. You know what? If it takes a year, if you wanna go in a different direction, start working on it. But during the budget process, we have to be certain that our public safety for the municipality of New Paltz is taken care of, in my opinion. It's
Gene,
all
you're
mine.
absolutely right. The only thing is, you didn't approve the budget last night, right?
No, we approved the police department budget the night that I got a 10%, I got a 7.8,
Right,
I got
right.
a 4, I got a this.
But you haven't approved the total budget yet.
No, we haven't, but we did approve section by section by section, okay? So
That's a tentative.
If someone, the 5 board members, as I recall, all 5 board members voted on that 7.2 or 7.8.
7.2.
Okay,
No, I'm just saying
Yeah.
that
I understand what
We-
you're saying, we didn't adopt the full
you didn't
budget.
adopt.
We
you
have
didn't
to do
adopt-
that in 12 days, okay?
Right, and the point was that this was supposed to be, I was told that once it brought up at Thursday's meeting.
Okay, then
So-
come,
No, I'll be there, but
Okay.
the point is, the fact that, and I said to Susan when I asked about it, because there was no thing, I wanted everybody to know. I mean, this went out, and you're right, it started, but this comes up on Thursday's meeting. You have other board members that are anti-police, not like you, and you do. You never know what's gonna happen, and you can't, and like I said at our meeting, the chief had to come to a grinding halt. He doesn't know what to do. When he gets a call like that, he doesn't know what to do. And you can't blame him, because you're gonna say, oh, okay, I'm gonna hire you, but you're only gonna be for two months?
I said, and you weren't here for this part, I was talking about the turmoil that our department's been going through with the changeover.
Right.
And being without a lieutenant, being down to 2 sergeants, we have 1 in a temporary spot. We went with 1 detective for several months. We've lost 2 opportunities for 2 hires, 1 for the dispatch because of all the talk about maybe not funding the position, so they took a position with County 911. We had one of our candidates, we were just about done with their background for a police officer position, who took a job at the county because he had a guarantee that he had a job there. And this is, now we have to start, and there's man hours that are going into the investigations, the background investigations. So we're going through all this turmoil with the uncertainty, and members are sitting there like, well, what's happening next? I thought I had a window that said that, okay, we're moving forward as we just explained. And as I'm starting to talk about, all right, this is what we're doing, I get the phone call saying what was said. So I was like, all right, well, time out. I'm like, what do you mean time out? I'm like, I don't know what's going on right now. Town of Lloyd, we had a board member sitting at your seat that talked about Saugerties, that was inaccurate information. You heard at the meeting that Town of Lloyd is going backwards to all part-timers and all this. Well, guess what? Their chief just retired, they got a new chief in, the lieutenant just retired. Not even 2 weeks later, they appointed another lieutenant. They replaced the sergeant that moved up, 2 sergeants, 1 for the lieutenant and 1 for the chief. So 2 sergeants, and they made another detective. They're doing all this within a 3-week span, and here we are.
and you have a hard time.
And you know what? And our members are doing a great job. They're keeping up on things. They're not complaining. They're staying professional, and I'm proud of that they're doing that. But it is frustrating. The roller coaster ride's been very frustrating.
I imagine it
Gene, you got anything else you wanna bring?
is. No, do you have any questions?
Nope. We'll find out what happens at the next meetings. I mean, there's no question.
Great. Now it should just be a feeding frenzy.
Say that, I'm sorry, I didn't hear you, Gene.
Joking.
No, what'd you say?
Let it go. Let it go.
We gonna adjourn?
Tell you later.
Ready? I move we adjourn.
Somebody wanna make a motion to adjourn, please?
I did, and it was seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye?
No. Okay, meeting's adjourned. You wanna make it, I'll say no. You still got, you gotta wait a month.
So now you wanna know what I have to say offhand.
Okay, what's your problem?
Okay, so,
My husband wants to play next